What's up, y'all? It's Mike in the building. Today I am doing something a little more different, a little different than I usually do. It's a finance video. I'm calling it the Humble Road to 10,000. It's a goal that I've had for a little while in my Robinhood stock portfolio. Um, if you like financial organization videos, kind of things about like expenses, spreadsheets, budgeting. I'm going to slowly start getting into how to invest, or how not how to invest, but how I've invested so far, and basically the mistakes I've made and the things that I've learned from doing it. I don't want to say that any of this is financial advice. It's just kind of a recap, and you can take from it whatever you need, and implement whatever you see fit. If you like content like that, among other things, Magic the Gathering gameplay and music, please subscribe to the channel. I have a goal of 50 subscribers, 50 measly subscribers by the end of the year. Need 9 more, so help me out with that, please. But I recently broke my $10,000 goal for the third time. It had broken twice before and got like $50 to $100 above, and then we had a correction in the market and it dipped below, and that was really sad. Recently ran up a lot after the last correction. We kind of bounced back and even exceeded our highs from before. So right now I think it's safely above 10. Obviously another correction could happen. Obviously it could dip in the future. I'm very, very aware of that, but I'm excited for where it is now. It's a new all-time high for my portfolio. I thought it might be kind of interesting to go through, and I've only really kind of glanced at these things, and just look at what I was doing in the beginning. I have the whole history of my portfolio up in the other tab there, and it shows what I deposited and what I bought, what I sold, and the values of those things. So I think that it might be useful for myself and for other people to kind of see what I did to get started. So first thing too is the $10,000 number might seem like chump change to some people. To other people it might seem like a lot of money, and it's really exciting, and maybe that's a motivator for some people that have never dabbled in investing to give it a try. I like Robinhood because it was user friendly. It was a very easy kind of gateway to investing. I think we're pretty lucky these days with as far as new investors go, where we don't have to pay like $10 a trade or whatever the fee was before. I mean, that to me that's just insane, because I trade a certain way based on what I know from Robinhood, which is, sure, they do the payment for order flow and all that stuff, but it doesn't pass down your traditional sense of a fee to the investor or the retail investor. So think what you want about it. I mean, it's done well for me. I know it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's kind of scummy, but let's see. So I guess we'll just jump in, and I'll just kind of talk about what I was thinking, or at least what I can remember when I started. So I began in 2017, the beginning of the year, first quarter, March 3rd, 2017. I was doing a different version of the budgeting that I do now, but still budgeting, getting paid and writing on a notepad where the money was going, things like that. Started to get like kind of interested in being better with money, and started realizing that I had the 401k. I was really proud of that. I was proud that I was putting a lot of money toward it, but I didn't really control anything with it. It was just kind of hands off. So I wanted to do something a little more hands on, and almost create like a savings account for myself, like an emergency fund. Was kind of originally how I treated this, because I knew that savings rates were trash for savings accounts. The APY, it's like less than 0.5% a lot of the time, which is just sad. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to throw nickels and dimes at this, $10, $15, $20 a week or every 2 weeks, and just feel it out. I didn't really have that many things in mind for it, but excuse me. I think this kind of coincided with getting into cryptocurrency. I think that's what happened, because I might have actually gotten into Coinbase before this. So like that kind of got me into the investing mindset, the more hands-on than the 401k, and making your own decisions, and kind of in some ways gambling a little bit on things that you might not completely understand. But I felt comfortable with it because it was small amounts of money, and getting burned on a $10 investment, like who cares? Who cares if you lose $10? It's almost like you're buying information, or you're buying a lesson. So started with Micron, I believe. You know what? I don't even remember why I started investing in like maybe that had something to do with. It must have been tied to crypto in some way, or it could have just been like a what's the word? Like a tip. Like someone's like, oh, well, you got Robinhood, you should invest in Micron, kind of thing. So I bought 3 shares. So this might have been where like I actually had a little bit of excess money, and maybe that was why I started this, because I was like, all right, like I have like a couple extra $100, it looks like, around that time. I think I was going on Morningstar and just kind of looking at like high rated stocks, or like what was like kind of hype at the time. Like I think Snap had just been listed, and that was really like my first exposure in Robinhood to an IPO, and how volatile they can be, and how news will dictate a lot of their movement, and then there's not as much news coverage, and then it levels out. So like that was a lesson right there, and I've seen that play out time and time again. I mean, I can look at a chart and know that it's an IPO that has been around for a year or less, because they almost always have the same chart. It looks just like a U. Well, sort of. It jumps up and then bleeds out, and then finds its bottom, and then it'll come back to a reasonable place. I don't know what this is. I bought too. Like a lot of this stuff, I feel like I bought and sold like immediately, but maybe not. So Ford was a big one, I remember. Ford, I was very adamant about. I thought, it's an old American company. It's cars, and I liked that it was a cheap dividend stock. I liked the idea of owning dividend stocks, just getting paid to own a share of a company, But it was very overpriced for the time, I think, because I basically bought it and it just bled out. These are my deposits. So around this time, I don't remember them really being that high, but this could have been just because I got started. I was putting 120 bucks in. AMD was definitely kind of a thing I'd learned through crypto. Coca-Cola was kind of another thing that I was thinking, same thought as the Ford play. Dividend stock, old American company, doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It was kind of the same thought there. See. There's some random ones in here. I don't even remember what these are. Like these maybe could have been the you know what? These might have been tips from coworkers, because these are really cheap, it looks like. Yeah. I remember getting a lot of like pharmaceuticals tips. These are cheap, and you're like just anticipating them to 20x or some ridiculous number. So more AMD, Coke, Ford, more of these speculative plays. So these are more like the deposits I remember. $23. Let's see. Phillips 66. Apple was another one. Not as old of a company, but I loved Coca-Cola. I would drink a lot of soda. I have a Mac. I have multiple iPhones. I drive 2 different Ford vehicles. So like that was like my thought process. So that was kind of one thing that when I started out, when I didn't know what to invest in, I thought that was fairly reasonable. Investing in things that you use every day and that you're adamant about, like that you don't see going anywhere because obviously you use them. Like you think that it's a good enough product that you use it. Another $130 deposit. 10. Yeah, this is what I remember doing. Apple. So I wonder when my sells started. More Ford buys. See, I started at like 12.50. Now it's at 10.92 here. This is in May. This is 2 months later. These are the small deposits I was putting in. I started getting dividends. Very small, but I mean, when you're depositing $5, 250 is not bad as a dividend. Trying to find some. Still no sells, it looks like. Unless I missed some. Coke Ford, Sunrun, not familiar with that. Dividend from Ford. Sunrun market, here's a sell. I don't know what Sunrun is. It's kind of familiar. Dividend from Coca-Cola. I want to find the dividends from Ford were decent too. Excuse me. Bye. All right, let's look for Dogecoin. Dogecoin, 729 Dogecoin at less than half a cent. And what's it now? 30 cents? Oh boy. Bitcoin, 7,000. It's wild. I don't like buying crypto on Robinhood. That's one thing I would probably stay away from. It's just you don't technically own the coins, and it really jacks up your the view of your portfolio because it's a 24-hour market, 24/7 market, as opposed to your open and closes on weekdays for the stock market. So it just kind of looks crazy. Don't love that. Dogecoin sell. I sold at a loss. So you'll see that a lot with some of my stuff. I won't be in things long. I'll get emotional and buy with hype, which you should not do. Just did it with Shiba. Bought at an all-time high, and then I realized, wow, I'm buying this at an all-time high. And then it started going down, and I was like, man, all right, that's a lost cause. It was like $200, but I was like, I'm just not gonna touch that. And then it went back up to basically where I bought it, and I just sold it at no gain or loss. I was like, I can't do this. Bitcoin sell for. I want to find the Ford sells. There's Ethereum at $18. Oh my god. Oh, it's Ethereum Classic. Okay. Bitcoin sell. These are really rough to look at. More Ford buys. Here we go. Ford sell. I sold one share at 960. That's. And I started buying. Okay. No. Selling random things. But eventually, I was talking to my dad about Ford, and the reasoning why I was investing in it, and he was like, yeah, well, it's a cheap stock for a reason, and I was like, oh, well, I never really thought of it that way. Like, it's easy to buy, but maybe there's a reason why it's so affordable, So that kind of changed my perspective a little bit. I might have held on to it a little longer than normal just because of the dividend, but I think the losses severely outweighed what I made off of the dividends. Let's see when we start. I want to see when I start pivoting into other things. I'm still kind of into those big companies that I like. I always wear Nikes, so like Ford, Nike, Coke. Okay, here we go. This was the first like good play I feel like I made, and it was still similar mindset, but this was an IPO. Don't think it was listed very long. Let's see. This was January 31st. I bought 10 shares of Yeti. Okay. Okay. So it was like what, 4 months. It was listed for 4 months. I got in around here at like $17, and now it's 98.33. Um, that was the first good play that I made, and I bought 10 shares. Man, it's $17. Wow. Um, I wanted to be able to control more than I'm used to, because like Coca-Cola and things like that, they were like 50. I think Nike was like 70 at the time. Apple's 100 and like 40. So it was hard to control a lot of shares. Then I saw Yeti. It was something that I used every day. I thought that they had quality products. Um, People that know the name and like Yeti are like really adamant about the company. So I figured why not just buy 10 shares of it. It was still fairly new. Um, and that ended up working out really well. That's been my best performing stock so far, and I've added 34 shares since, at different amounts, or different prices. So my average cost is obviously higher than $17, but it's still pretty good. Um, this is still even off its high all-time highs. It has room to go back up to 105, and if that happens, I'm gonna be in an even better place. I think at one point it yielded a 200% total return for me. So I'm at an all-time high in my portfolio, and there's still plenty of room for it to go up, which is awesome. Um, don't think I've sold a lot of Yeti, if any actually, but I've been considering it just to balance things. It's like the further you go into this, the more you start changing um, your strategies and your allotments and the number of stocks you invest in. There are periods where I wanted 3, 6, 20, 25, 50 different stocks. Now I've settled kind of on like four to six. It's just easier for me to kind of wrap my head around. So there's still these. Okay, then I start buying more Yeti. Yeah, because it's just doing so well for me. And almost every single time I bought it, it was going up more and more. Um, very very few pullbacks. Nintendo. Some of this might have been news based. I feel like there was news that came out about Nintendo, and I wanted to participate in that stock. Well, that was a sell, so don't know if it was a loss or whatever. CPO. These could have been some tips, which they never work out. I mean, I would advise against stock tips. Somebody tells you about a stock. I mean, unless you do your research and you find that it's actually a good investment. Then I started thinking about Uber, which I'm curious to see what that looks like now, actually. So I bought shares at 42. It looks like that was the first time I got in, and I was pretty adamant about that stock as well. Thought that had a lot of potential, and if it didn't split, I mean, I'm kind of content with that with that sell. I feel like I sold for that reason because I think as we go on, we'll see more market buys and sells, but it was just flat, and like they weren't profitable. I still don't know if they're profitable. And this was only 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It still could explode. It still could be a really good stock, but I just didn't have the patience for it, and there was money to be made elsewhere in Yeti. Let's see, lots of Bitcoin things, more Yeti. Yeah. Nintendo. Another Yeti buy. Deposits. Yeah, see all these $10 deposits? I wonder why they were all the same day. That's kind of weird. Strange. Market buy. Yeti market buy. Deposits. Okay, 2020. This is when I started getting really kind of serious, I think, and started depositing more. I mean, look at all these deposits. We've passed a lot of $10, $20 deposits. This was my strategy for a long time. Put minimal amounts in. Be willing to lose your entire investment. Experiment, and once you start kind of gaining more knowledge and understanding of what you're doing, it's very easy to transition into putting more money in because you just know that you kind of have a game plan, and you're willing to lose it. You know that obviously you're gonna make the best investments that you possibly can, but your mentality is in a good place. Hershey, Kraft Food, Yeti, Amazon. Oh, why did I buy Amazon? I mean, I bought it at 1900. I think it's like 3000 or something stupid like that now. I think I was really adamant about dividend stocks again here. I think that might have been the Kraft and Hershey idea behind them. Uber definitely didn't have a dividend though. Let's see. May 2020. Where's the juicy stuff here? I feel like I start consolidating some of these goofy plays. Still buying Uber in 2020. I don't remember that. Apple. Okay. This was, I think, when Apple and Tesla split. And I was buying the news like a moron. And then it split, and then I think it just tumbled. So then I started getting the McDonald's, which was another thing. I like McDonald's. I feel like they're also more of like a real estate company than fast food, or like, obviously a mixture of both. So I like that aspect. They had a good dividend. They were a little expensive. 222 share. Apple. Buying more Apple. 104. More Yeti buys. Apple. Okay. So, all right, let's see. Because I really started changing strategies somewhere in here. Okay. This is where I started getting into different strategies, I think. Like JP Morgan, and this is why people always say that millionaires are created out of, bear markets and crashes. Like, let's look at, this is COVID right here, right? And if you look at COVID on most charts, you have this plummet to the middle of March, and then it comes like right back up, like this, but it happens like here, right? JP Morgan is a pretty solid play, and it was just hanging out here. So I bought in somewhere in here. Where was that? No, November. Is there another one? I thought I bought earlier. I think I was eyeing it up for a while. Excuse me. Where does November put us? Okay. Okay, so kind of right before this jumped up. I mean, I missed out on these gains, but I was right in time for this. That was really nice. I think I sold around like 150. It wasn't a lot of shares, but I liked that JP Morgan had a dividend. I saw that opportunity there. But I think I bought a few shares. Yeah, buy more Yeti. Apple, buying more JP Morgan there. JP Morgan. So buying JP Morgan up there. Probably getting dividends in here somewhere. Okay. Don't know if I've sold anything in here yet. Yeah. So then I start buying. I start learning about index funds, the VOO, which tracks the S&P 500. So you're diversifying across 500 companies with one stock essentially. It's just a basket of stocks. Also pays a dividend, and it just has pretty reliable growth. So that was something new that I started getting into, and since then, January 26th of 2021, I'm assuming. Oh, so it's only been, hasn't even been a whole year yet, but been buying into this, and it's just solid. See, this is the quick kind of bounce back that I was talking about. It's actually not a full recovery until like here. But this has been pretty good. I didn't know I got money for that. That's cool. Dividend from JP Morgan. So eventually I sold JP Morgan just because I didn't like his like his actions about crypto were one way and what he said about crypto was another way. And I didn't really like that. Jamie Dimon. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I had gotten the gains that I wanted to out of that that dip. So I just sold it. And there was a brief period there where I didn't want to sell anything. I would sell Apple, and then I'd miss out on huge gains, and I would kick myself. You shouldn't do, but I was like, I'm buying and holding forever. Whatever I buy, I'm just gonna keep. And I think that was like the first time that I went against that with the let's see. I don't know where that sell is. When I sold JP Morgan, I think it might have been pretty recent, but it worked out because I walked away with a profit. I got out of I just got to take advantage of that run up. Got out of a company that I wasn't super vested in or adamant about, and then I got to use the money to buy up more Yeti or whatever else I was looking at. Like I started getting into ARK Innovation, the Kathy Wood fund that basically tracks innovation companies, and she's constantly buying and selling based on what's going on in intraday. That didn't move that much. You'll see eventually I sold it. I think I did sell for a profit, but I've considered going back in. I think it's really interesting, but it was just kind of stagnant. I think in the long term this is going to do really well. But it was just, I felt like I was kind of missing out on some other things. And that's what's been kind of nice about selling. Sell at a profit and then move the money into something else that might be moving a little bit better or is maybe valued lower. So my strategies have slowly started getting a little more like complicated and maybe questionable, but so far they've been pretty good. I've basically been using Apple as, and you'll see more buys and sells of Apple. There's a price point that I've been pivoting around depending on where it's at. If it's lower than say like 145 and I have cash and there's no other good opportunities, I'll buy Apple and sit on it until it runs up because it kind of trades in a channel a lot of the time, at least recently. And say it'll run up to like 149, 150. I'll sell it and either buy something that's down on the day or the week, or I'll just sell it and hold on to the cash and wait for a dip and then just buy then. Because when you have cash like that, market crashes feel a lot better. You have something to do. You have money to go shopping with essentially. So when you come out of the dip, your portfolio just looks totally different than it did before. That's basically what just happened with this. Because we had a rough September. More ARK, getting the dividends from JP Morgan, still buying up that stuff. But this is getting closer to what my portfolio looks like today. McDonald's, JP Morgan. Eventually, we're going to see sells for JP Morgan and McDonald's because I just sell out of them. Depend for McDonald's. Okay, this is when I start doing. Were there mind medicine buys here? I guess I started with mind medicine in options. So this is when I started experimenting with options here. You can see I kind of either didn't know what I was doing or I got cold feet and canceled it. But just did some experimentation here with mind medicine because it's a cheap stock, something that I'd like to own for long term and just see what happens with it. So that's still in my portfolio now. Some random things. I think these were kind of like tips or I learned about online. At least I sold it at a profit, but just kind of dumb. More mind medicine things. Vanguard. This is when I was buying. It's buying the VOO like almost every day. Just kind of keeping cash in there, and every day if there was nothing going on, I would just throw it at the S&P because it has nice dividend and it's just steady growth. So that's kind of like a dollar cost averaging strategy. I started kind of going through that phase where I would just instead of putting the money in and buying everything or opening a position right away in something, I would just move it to Robinhood and just let it sit there. And every day I'd go shopping, see if there's anything worth buying and making my average cost better, cost basis. And if not, I would just throw like $10, $20 at the S&P. Dividend from Apple, deposit. I see some sells here. McDonald's sell. Okay, is this where? This might have been where I sold all of my McDonald's. It's funny, and you probably shouldn't do this, but I went to McDonald's one day, right around the corner from my house, and they didn't have any soda. So I went home and sold all my McDonald's. I was thinking about it anyway, because I really wanted to get into a firm. It's a buy now, pay later. It exploded from $60 to here in like a day, and that it was kind of risky to buy in at that point because it had doubled and it was at an all-time high like I was talking about earlier. You really shouldn't buy at all-time highs, but I was pretty adamant about it. I felt like it still had a lot of room to grow, and so far that has been accurate. Yeah, the next day, same day, it went up $2 there. Then I guess it tanked, or it corrected. So I had an opportunity to kind of get in at a better price there. So like 110, I think was my average. I don't know what it is now. Let's look at a firm. A firm is incredible so far, man. Like this is the IPO curve I was talking about. Shoots up, then bleeds out, and you have this kind of U, and then it'll kind of anywhere in here it'll average out to kind of what its true value is. There's just a lot of things manipulating the price here in the beginning. So this was listed in January, and I got in a little after this. I saw this, and then I just saw this crazy run up, and then I think I got in here somewhere. Yeah, so it's been pretty good since then. It shot up to 162. It's almost at its all-time high. Let's see, 165. A lot of interesting partnerships. They're partnered with like Target, Amazon. I think like a kind of like a beta stage of a partnership with Amazon could be really beneficial during the holiday season. I think they have a relationship with Walmart too, if I'm not mistaken. I think they just announced something with American Airlines where you can finance your flights. There's people that are apparently there's going to be more people flying this holiday than any before, which I find kind of hard to believe, but maybe it's just because of built up demand, and obviously the holidays people get together with their families. But a lot of people saying they really want to travel this year, but they can't afford it. So this might give them a way to do that by kind of breaking up their ticket cost in 4 sections or over 2 years. You know, like and pay $5 a month or whatever toward your plane ticket. I don't think it's the greatest idea for people to do that, but if it's the difference between seeing your family and not seeing your family, a lot of people are going to do it. So I think it's a really cool idea, and their partnerships, I think, if I'm not mistaken, kind of allow them to pass on zero interest to their customers, unless they don't make the total payment by the end of the agreed upon time frame. They're really cool stuff there. I would look into that company. I think eventually in here I sell out of Apple, and that's it. I think now it's kind of getting to where I am now. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my journey there. Right now I have 44 shares of Yeti, 7.4 shares of VOO, 276 shares of Mind Medicine, and 15.58 shares of Affirm. Right now, I'm looking at Matterport. I'm gonna watch ARK, but I'm probably not gonna do anything with ARK. I considered Robinhood just because it bled out, but I don't know if I want to put my money in Robinhood. Google is always something I'm eyeing up, just so expensive. Shouldn't really matter, but yeah, probably Google at some point. Apple's kind of my bank account stock. If that dips below 146 right now is my price target. If it dips below that, I'll probably buy some if I have some cash and there's nothing else going on. And then I'll ride it up and then sell it at a profit and use the money somewhere else. Matterport is interesting because of all this metaverse talk. Matterport operates as a spatial data company that focuses on digitizing and indexing the built world. The firm's products include 3D content platform, Pro 2 3D camera, 360 cameras, virtual reality, and mobile apps. So they basically 3D map existing structures. It's an easy way, I guess, to kind of like if you need a project done, or you're selling your house, or something like that, like you're listing your house, it's an easy way for people to kind of do a virtual tour. Or if you want your bathroom done, you can show your contractors or whoever's doing the work, what the dimensions are, how much space they kind of have to work with. This could be really useful in a digital space where people are trying to bring the real world into it. So I think that could be kind of interesting. And it's only $23 a share right now, which it just shot up. But I feel like that's super affordable. I think what I was looking at was maybe 19 a share for an entry point, because it's been kind of flat at, well, this is a week. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like 19, below 19 might be my entry point for this. And they're a new company too. And here's the same IPO thing I'm talking about here. Shoots up, does the U, and then it kind of flattens out into where its true value is. So, yeah, I would look into some of these. I would suggest that if you have not been investing at all, that you consider it. And I'll probably put some referral links in the description. So if you want to use Robinhood and you sign up with my link, we can both probably get a free stock or something. There's probably some kind of incentive. But not financial advice, but what I can do is just kind of present what my journey was like up to this point, just about 4 years worth of just experimenting and trying to learn. And I learned that especially when you're first starting out, you understand your risk tolerance. You basically assume that you're going to lose all your money. That should make you a little more cautious with how much you're putting into something that you're still trying to understand. Do your research on what you're investing in. When in doubt, just kind of invest in things that you find useful yourself, that you use almost on a daily basis, that you would advocate and recommend to other people to use. or just VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, the ETF, because that's good dividend producer, and it's just steady gains. Tracks basically the best, all the best parts of the market. So I would do that there. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've been investing at all, and maybe what your stuff's kind of look like, your portfolio, and some of the mistakes you've made, some of the things that you've been implementing that have been successful. I'd love to hear about it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.